the convexity of the border that that chamber forms. So that's why we spend all that time with that little drill of right is right, front is right, left is left, back is left. And if you can remember that, then you'll always know what the chambers are, because they're the same chambers even on a thoracic film. It's the same chambers. Now, would you say this patient has cardiomegaly?
Yeah.
Do we even have to measure it? No, the thing's grossly enlarged. Believe it or not, one valve did that. One valve. Mitral valve.
Mitral?
Did that. Mitral valve did that. So how did the mitral valve do that?
Cor pulmonale?
No,
Well, not really.
there is some prominence of the upper lobe veins, though. Maybe a little bit of edema, but not really very much, if there is. There is some prominence of the hiatal areas, but a lot of this is getting covered up by the heart, isn't it? Things grossly enlarged. You see this back here? Left atrium. Huge. And look it up here. The heart's halfway up on the sternum. Right ventricle. Left atrium. 1, 2. Look how big the pulmonary artery is. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many bumps are we supposed to have? 3. Which bump are we not supposed to have? This one. No. Upper left heart border. Yeah. That's heart border from there down. Not supposed to have that bump. That bump and this one
The same?
is the same chamber.
Jeez.
Oh my gosh.
Now, the left atrium has, of all the 4 chambers, the left atrium has the greatest capacity to enlarge. Of the 4. The greatest capacity to enlarge. The thing can become huge. The left atrium can get so big, its volume can exceed the total original cardiac volume. That's how big it can get. Look at how big this is. From here to here, and all the way back here is left atrium. So what this did, the left atrium started, the valve was stenotic. So that backs the blood up into the left atrium. Left atrium enlarges. That backs the blood up onto the venous side of circulation. They get venous hypertension. That backs up through the capillaries around to the pulmonary arteries. They enlarge. Then what's the next chamber that's going to enlarge?
Right
And
ventricle.
the right ventricle is going to enlarge. It's going to back up from the ventricle into the right atrium, and the right atrium is going to enlarge. So now you got atrium, ventricle, right atrium enlarging. So as they enlarge, the mitral valve, which was doing this because it was stenotic, is now this. And now what's the valve doing? So now you got blood regurgitating out of the left ventricle back into the atrium. The brain says, pump, because I'm not getting enough blood. And so the ventricle is struggling, trying to get enough blood into the systemic circulation because it's all backing up into the lungs. So one valve doing this, and the whole thing enlarges over time. Yeah. That's what did that. That's one valve not working, enlarged the whole entire heart like that. It's gross cardiomegaly, isn't it? Yeah.
So when we get that, shouldn't we get initially like curly line with interstitial edema and then...
Depends on the level of edema. But yes, I mean, this patient's probably gone in and out of pulmonary edema. And they may be on diuretics. Who knows what their issue is, what they're doing. But, yeah, I mean, mitral stenosis was a major cause of left atrial enlargement and venous hypertension. It's far less today. And it's much more common that the left atrium enlarges because they have congestive heart failure. Then the left ventricle is the problem, and then it just slowly backs up into the atrium and then back into the lungs. That's the classic cause today of, 1, venous hypertension and left atrial enlargement. It usually follows the ventricle.